Hey, here we are for the reading from the 21st of June to the 27th, 2026. Let's dive in and see what's there for us for this week. Okay. It shows up as though there are people sponsoring us. It's a little convoluted what that means. I mean, we know what it would mean to be sponsored, but there's something bigger than just having somebody say, I believe in your work, or I'm going to help it, that they want to invest into it. They want to see it go further and they care. And we can meet it with different positions on that of, I don't know if this feels safe. I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. I feel gung-ho, like, yes, I want to do this. And then we might back up and say, was that the right thing to do? We're all going to have a whole bunch of different ways that we feel about this. I mean, obviously we're different people, but we're being presented with something where somebody does believe in our work, but it might be a match or it might be a little bit of a mismatch to where we're headed. So if somebody says to you, hey, I have this job that I think you should consider, maybe say, could I talk to somebody else who has that job or the person that used to be in it, or give yourself opportunity to expand more into it. And in a way, you're buying yourself time, that there's some importance in that because you might feel under the gun to make a snap decision or to make an immediate decision to please the person that's come your way. Okay, let's take a look and see what else. Then there's this very gentle, nonchalant, don't worry about it. Don't get obsessed that it has to be a certain way or you're thinking wrong or you're not sure. Getting into that spin is exactly what we can say the universe is trying to keep us from doing. It's asking us to rise into it and say, I can meet this level. I can play at this level. I just don't know how yet. And I will figure it out. I'm open to that and I'm willing to expand myself into that, even though it might be scary or it feels like I see somebody slipping into a cool pool where you can see some depth, but then it gets a little bit harder to see what's at the bottom. And I know most people I know are uncomfortable. I'm from a place with a lot of lakes that are dark, and you don't know what's at the bottom. It's generally mucky mud, and there are a lot of fish. And, so we could be reticent to feel like we can just let go into that pool of water, that we want to resist or hold back or ease in. And the person is sliding in slowly and they're trying to be nondescript about it. Like they're not making a splash, they're not going wild, they're just slyly sliding into the water. So think about that. Go easy with yourself and make the process comfortable for you, but also it feels like it's a time when we are going to want to be seen and we can't hide from it, but that this moment we might feel like we want to ease in, but we also have to be seen. So there's a contradiction there. Think about it. It's a big body of water and we're exposing ourselves to that and we can't go in hidden. So if your time is to be front and center, pay attention, heed it, get out there, play bigger, and meet who you are. That's what's really happening. And there's a very practical piece here. See it for what it's worth. Don't worry about it. Don't get hooked up on it or, hooked on it. Oh, I can't get that out of my head. This already kind of came up a little bit, but just stay practical about it. Oh, I'm doing this next. Stay out of your head about, well, how did I perform? And was that good enough? And I don't know, could be the best thing to say to yourself. Or so what? Because some people might think you did amazingly well, but you just don't know that. And some people might not, but then we're identifying who's for us and who is not for us. And that's a very important piece within this. So go easy. It might be that sliding into the water is also exposing yourself to who is it, where do I belong, and where don't I belong at the same time. And that's okay. That's what we really want to find. It's important for us. We need to belong, but we're moving into belonging that's real. It's finally real. It's not a family that says, I love you, and then they don't treat you that way. It's real. They're going to shoot straight, communicate clearly. And that can be hard sometimes, when somebody says, I can't be that for you. But at least we know where we stand. And what that mitigates is anxiety because there's no attachment to outcome. We know they can't do that or be that for us. And now we know we're going to have to find that need to be met someplace else or supported by another. That's not bad. That's good. Because then we know. Okay. Knowing is the core of my work. And not I know, but more now I know. It's wherever it creates a sense of calm and peace. That's the power of it. We might be in the process of building some things and we might build it a little bit and then it falls down. And then we build it a little bit and it breaks apart. And we build it a little bit and somebody knocks it over. And it's not worth getting frustrated over it. I've actually thinking about it, I've had conversations with people that this is already maybe going on a bit. And in my own life, I see it. But we just move along. Okay, that's okay. I can rebuild it. I can do it again. I can do it differently. What do I need to know? Do I need a day to take a break from it and then go back to it? Just tune in, be with yourself, and see what that means for you. Exciting or freaking you out? You decide. Comment below, let me know. We might also have this moment where we feel caught or suspended in time of where am I? Where do I stand in the world? And that is a beautiful moment, even though it's incredibly uncomfortable, because what it's telling us is that we are letting go of false belonging and really allowing ourselves to set that down and say, where do I belong? But we won't know where we belong. And that's going to be the discomfort, is we're in this time of unknown. We're coming close to it because we're at that point of setting it down, of saying, I'm not going to be able to play in these relationships where it's not true for me, where I can't really be who I am. And if you're like me, you've had many, and that's okay. It's not easy, but it's okay, right? We're moving through to things that are more aligned, that expand us instead of contract us. Wherever you have a relationship that makes you question yourself, it's a relationship that, I mean, it could be good questioning too. Somebody who challenges you and says, hey, did you think about this? That's different tension. But somebody, when you leave, you think, why did they say that to me? And what was that conversation about? When you yourself aren't prepared naturally to say to them, hey, knock that off, or that doesn't work for me, don't speak to me that way. We're in an environment that isn't working for us. It's not where we belong. And that's tricky because it might be work and you're like, what am I going to do? Just ditch my job? No. But you're aiming to, I see now this isn't where I belong. And I'm going to stop trying to fit that and allow the process of what unfolds to move me into the next to arrive. You might start looking for opportunities or talk to friends that are in a similar field to get some ideas of what could be a nice pivot for you. But we're in a massive time where things are going to be shifting. Clearly, they already are, but they're shifting into very different types of work. I believe we're headed more into creativity, and science and creativity will find a balancing point with each other, and it won't be as prove it focused, which I'm not going to go into it, but if you really do research on how often science is right, it's not very high. So we want to rethink this. We want to see if our sense and what we know inherently within us and our creativity hits higher, because I believe it does, much higher. And that's important. If the two are paired together, it'll be a powerhouse. But at the current place we are, everything has to be proven. And when you actually go back and look at the information, where the information came from, or the group that they're studying or so on, limits everything. Unless you're surveying everybody in the world, you can't say 80% of people do this or that. It's just a small sampling. And I get it. I'm not going up against science. I'm not going up against research or any of that. I just am saying times are changing and we want to flow with that. And by that, we will move into more creative thinking, leadership that is about creativity and creating what is next in a really powerful way. That's an us way. It's not a their way. It's all of us. And that's what makes it powerful. I want another way to explain this because I think that it's too esoteric what I just said. But in a greater or grander scheme, people would say, you're unique. And that unique? Peace is important, absolutely, but it's our expansive willingness to express on that uniqueness that is the powerhouse. Because then we move into a trajectory that is free of what I call the model. It's all forms of control, of ways that we posture to try and prove we're good enough, to try and prove we have a place in this system. And nobody should be in the system at all. And when we're outside of that system, everything flows. But we expand and expand and expand. And that's the power versus control. Okay, let's take a deeper look. There's also this message about sharing your wonder with others. And that is signaling that we want to share what we're curious about, but we don't want to share what we think we're going to do with that information. Meaning we might have an idea about, my curiousness is leading me to what about that? But when we share it, we're letting the energy out of it. That's very common. When we share, we actually are forming that there's something to prove about it. We're almost getting too excited and then letting it out of the box instead of keeping that excitement inside and only for us. And when we can keep it only for us, it's true. And when we have to share it outside of ourselves, it's not true about us. So that's important because it's a nice way to see, is this true or is this me trying to be something I'm not? And what does that really mean for us, right? Why are we doing that? Is it the company that we're keeping? Is it the life we're trying to uphold so that we don't have to be honest about things like a relationship that we're in or how we're parenting our children or our relationship with our own parent? What is it? What's going on there? Is there something we're trying to avoid? What's happening with that? Then there's a message about being pleasant. And the piece of that meaning that's important and for us to take in is not about being pleasant and kind and smiling. It's more when we are pleasant with others, we can keep that peace inside of ourselves. We show we know who we are. And we might not say much, but they might feel they got a lot from us because we are with ourself and they feel the power of that. That's important. That's the most important thing. And you can say it's being present, which a lot of people say, but actually it's being in your present, past, and future all at once. And there's no sweat to it. It's not stressful or too much or too intense because we can access it all, but we're not affected by it. And you might say that's the release of trauma and all these things. Absolutely. We have to release that trauma. We have to get right with our emotions and get it out of the body. And we've got long-term emotional energy within our body that's stored. But when we move through that, we can come into self-expression. Once the fear is neutralized, we will be vulnerable and move into self-expression. That's the pathway. And vulnerability is hard because society said, don't do that. Don't ever be vulnerable. It's never going to be safe to be that. And for a lot of people, they were vulnerable. They said, this doesn't work for me, or this, they communicated clearly and they were treated poorly. And so the vulnerability was in us, taught it wasn't safe. Don't be vulnerable. It's not worth it. And that's what left us in a rut of fear where people say, your nervous system, your nervous system. Well, when you're constantly afraid because there's a threat of never being able to communicate what you actually need or your ideas, there it is. But when vulnerability in a relationship is available, we can feel safe and move through into what we have, which is self-expression. None of us have been expressing ourselves. Truly, we've been holding back because it has not been safe. And now we're coming into, we're going to have that again, but we're under a different type of energy than we were when I was born. For sure, it's different. It was easier then because it was natural and innate because I was a child. But now with the new energy and all of the experiences many of us have had that are varied, we're coming through to say, let's set that pain down, that other thing down. And Let's ask for the help that we need or get the support that we need or move into the expression of who we are. I mean, really, so we can do that. That's what we're up to. Okay. So that I'm going to go back to that being pleasant. You might stand there at a party and just look at the people as they're speaking and not really contribute because you don't have anything that you need to say, but they can feel everything from you in a powerful way. It's the opposite of the empaths that are saying, I can't handle it. The empaths could really handle this. They'd be saying, oh my gosh, it felt so different and so good. How amazing. More of that, please. That's what the empaths are looking for. That is power. But empaths, you got to get with people that can allow your power and places and spaces where you are powerful. You've been with the wrong people and they're contracting you. You learned your lessons. Move on. Be aware and open-eyed and move on. Okay. There's a message about sit down and see who you are. And it almost seems matter of fact, like write it out, decide who you are, and then be that. And, life is a bit more messy than that, right? It's not, this is who I am and this is how it works and that's what I want. And sometimes we know that right away, but sometimes we're unsure. So maybe it's more of a lived experience versus some of us might sit down and write it out and then come back to it and say, boy, I don't adhere to any of that. I'm not cultivating who I am. For others of us, it might be more sporadic. Like, boy, I'm whatever it is, sleeping too late, or I'm, I don't know, on the weekends, and I would rather get up and go on a walk, or we're living a life that isn't the way that we are based or the way that we are. And we want to be honest with that and look at what is it I want from life? What experiences? What knowledge? What interactions? And how do I cultivate that? What do I need to practice or do? It could be you want to learn a language or you want to take a class or just get more exercise. What changes that for you? It's a time to look at that right now. What is the different behavior so that you get a different result from your life? And it's not about being good. It's about doing it for you. And you might not like it at first. I'm a little bit of a fighter, so I know all about that. I fight through things. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. Or I don't want to do it, but I will. What is that for you? And how do you create that? How does it work for you to move through? Somebody need to keep you on track. You get a helper or a buddy to say, can you check in with me? But we don't want somebody who's saying, did you do that? Did you do that? Absolutely not. We're done with that. That's what cultivated really bad, like no consequences for a lot of people in our world. Is, well, if I didn't tell them, they would never do it. Well, then what are you doing living their life? What are you doing creating their world for them? No, thank you. So let's just knock that off. But asking somebody, could you check in with me? It's a different story. It comes up again, but in a different position of sponsor somebody else. So this time we're turning the tables and we are going to be excited about somebody else's work. We might champion it and say, I'm going to put that out on social media for you, or I want to connect you with these 5 people that I think would be great clients. We're going to accelerate somebody's experience about what they are sharing and expanding into and help that expansion. How beautiful. We're seeing it from a receiving end, and then we're seeing it from a giving end. And that might sound kind of strange because you think, how are some people giving and some people are receiving? But it'll come full circle. What it signals to me is we are coming full circle, which circles are the way that we change in spiritual growth, or I really think of it as human growth, emotionally, mentally, and somewhat physically. It's a little bit different. It's not like we're growing and getting physically bigger, but we're growing stronger in some ways. But that this revolves in a circle. And I believe what that signals is the pattern is growing tighter in this way of belonging. Where do we belong? With whom is it? Who is it that we belong to and they belong to us? We're getting tighter in that sequence of how that pattern arrives. The next words that come are gentle, gentle, gentle. The be gentle. The gentleness feels like it feels like that calm and peace that I was talking about a few minutes ago is just this gentleness inside of us. And that when we're sending that signal out, not that we're doing that, we just indeed are signaling we are gentle and feeling that gentleness, that others feel it within us too. And it helps them feel at ease with us. And they might share more with us or so on. But again, we're quiet. We just are a listener. And our only job, which isn't really a job, it's just the positioning of who we are, is to be gentle. So if you get people rushing at you with intensity, if you're holding that gentleness inside, they might totally shift. And it's not about us creating that for them. It's just that might be what you see is this softening within them, or they might just walk away, which also is a good observational tool for what that gentleness creates for us. It creates a harmonized energy of exactly what I'm saying, people who expand us. The others just flow away because they're not able to meet that same energy because you aren't. And it's just so simple. It really is this gentleness within, almost flowing like it's water through us. And that we just allow that flow to keep happening. And it's not necessarily for us, meaning we're feeling gentle about ourselves. We are gentle. It's like that's what we're radiating. It's what our body is signaling. And then people respond. Lovely. I love things like that. It's not something you have to hold up. It's not something you overrode to do for somebody else. It's just you being you and letting it flow through. It's natural, easy, powerful. There's a very direct message that comes in, tempted as we may be, and then it's fill in the blank. Mad libs. Put in a noun, put in a verb. But there's something there about what we might be tempted to go back to the old pattern. We might be tempted to dip our foot into somebody else's pool and say, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but right away we pull our foot out. But it's the sensing that's important. We sense that's not right. Or I went back to that old pattern. It's not the thing for me. It's not moving me forward. I see that so clearly now. So don't feel bad about it. More fill in the blank. What's that blank telling you? They're not for me, or this isn't the place I belong, or I don't feel safe here, so it's not going to work out for me to expand, right? We're cultivating that understanding of ourselves through our outer world into our inner experience and inner world. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this reading has served you. Tune in each week. Sundays they're posted, most Sundays, sometimes on Mondays. And like, share, and follow. Let your friends know if they're looking for a more gentle and human approach to intuitive reading. Thank you.